Romans 3:22 is the central verse of Pauline doctrine of justification. At its heart is a Greek phrase, Pistis Christou, Pistis Christou. Almost every English Bible renders it the same way, faith in Christ. But the Greek grammar permits a second reading, faith of Christ, meaning Christ's own faithful obedience as the ground of justification, rather than our act of believing as the instrument of it. Both readings are standard Greek. Both have serious scholarly champions. Modern Pauline studies has been reopening the case since Richard Hayes's 1983 monograph on this exact phrase, but your English Bible probably still translates as if the question is settled. The entire shape of the gospel shifts depending on which the translator picks. To understand what's at stake, you have to start with the Greek case system, because the entire question hinges on one grammatical feature that Greek has and English doesn't. Greek is an inflected language. Nouns change their endings depending on their function in the sentence. The category for the possessive function is called the genitive case. The word Christ, Christos, in the genitive becomes Christou. That ending signals that the noun is grammatically related to another noun, but Greek doesn't specify how. So Pistis Christou, faith Christ genitive, allows two relations. Objective genitive, Christ is the object of the faith. The phrase means faith aimed at Christ, faith in Christ. Subjective genitive, Christ is the subject of the faith. The phrase means faith belonging to Christ, Christ's own faithfulness. This is not contested grammar. The standard intermediate Greek grammar, Daniel Wallace's Beyond the Basics, covers this exact ambiguity directly. So does Blaster-Brunner Funk, the standard advanced reference. Greek genitives can be either subjective or objective. Context decides. For Pistis Christou, context is ambiguous in most occurrences. Both readings fit Pauline theology. Both have orthodox precedent. See Galatians 2:16. In a minute, I'm going to walk you through Galatians 2:16, the single verse where Paul uses Pistis Christou 3 times, and where the third occurrence pairs it with a different Greek verb in a way that reveals which reading actually fits. The history matters. The Western Protestant tradition, Luther, Calvin, and the Reformation lineage, read Pistis Christou objectively, our faith in Christ as the instrument of justification. The historic doctrine of sola fide. For 450 years, this was the unchallenged reading in the West. Then, in 1983, Richard Hayes at Yale Divinity School published a monograph titled The Faith of Jesus Christ. The thesis was simple. Paul's actual usage of Pistis Christou pointed to the subjective reading. Christ's faithfulness, not our faith in him, was the ground of justification. N.T. Wright took it up. Douglas Campbell amplified it. By the 2000s, the faith of Jesus Christ debate was a defining controversy in Pauline studies. A little later, I'll show what changes theologically, but first, the proof case that turned the academic tide, Galatians 2:16. Galatians 2:16, Paul uses the phrase Pistis Christou, or its equivalent, 3 times in one verse, and right alongside the third occurrence, he uses the Greek verb epistasimon, meaning we believed. Here is the verse. Knowing that a person is not justified by works of the law, but through faith of or in Jesus Christ, even we believed in Christ Jesus, so that we might be justified by faith of or in Christ, and not by works of the law. Here is the problem on the objective reading. If Pistis Christou means faith in Christ, our act of believing directed at Christ, and the phrase appears 3 times in this verse, and right alongside it, Paul says, we believed in Christ Jesus, using a different verb. The verse is saying the same thing 4 times. The redundancy is observable. Paul is not a writer who repeats himself for no reason. Lapthebrizer, the objective reading, 4 redundant statements of human faith. Now, read the verse on the subjective reading. knowing that a person is not justified by works of the law, but through Christ's faithfulness. Even we believed in Christ Jesus, so that we might be justified by Christ's faithfulness and not by works of the law. Two distinct movements: Christ's faithfulness as the ground, our believing as our response. The redundancy disappears. The structure makes sense. Lapthebrieser, the subjective reading, two distinct movements, ground plus response. Lapthebrieser, the redundancy is the evidence. This is what Hayes argued and what most Pauline scholars now grant. Galatians 2:16 doesn't make grammatical sense on the objective reading without forcing Paul into redundancy. The subjective reading resolves it. The same pattern shows up in Romans 3:22. The righteousness of God through faith of or in Jesus Christ for all who believe. Notice the parallel. Through Pistis Christou and immediately after for all who believe. On the objective reading, both phrases mean the same thing: human believing directed at Christ. Paul has stated human faith twice, redundant. On the subjective reading, the two phrases work as a complementary pair. Through Christ's faithfulness, the ground, for all who believe, the response. The verse structure works the way Greek prose usually works, parallel phrases doing distinct conceptual work. What changes theologically? The objective reading anchors justification in human believing. We are justified by our faith in Christ. The subjective reading anchors justification in Christ's faithfulness. We are justified by Christ's faithfulness, which we receive by believing. Both are orthodox. Both preserve faith as essential. The difference is what does the saving work: our believing or Christ's faithfulness. The subjective reading aligns with Romans 5:18-19. Through one man's obedience, the many will be made righteous. It aligns with Philippians 2:8, Christ's obedience to the point of death. It makes Pauline soteriology relentlessly Christocentric. The objective reading aligns with Romans 4, the Abraham example, or Abraham believed God and it was counted to him as righteousness. Most Pauline scholars now grant that the Greek grammar tilts subjective in at least some occurrences, especially Galatians 2:16 and Romans 3:22, even if traditional translation has stayed objective. The conversation in the academy is no longer whether the subjective reading is grammatically viable. That's settled. The conversation is which reading better captures Paul's theology overall. Most modern English translations footnote the alternative. Few render it in the main text. Partly tradition, the Reformation reading is the inherited reading. Partly polemic, switching would have denominational implications. Partly caution. Translators don't want to disturb settled doctrinal frameworks. English Bible readers have been quietly walked past a major Pauline scholarship debate for the last 40 years. If Romans 3:22's grammar reshapes how we read Paul on faith, the next video goes after a single Greek word in Ephesians 5:23, a word that the standard Greek lexicons grant two distinct meanings, and where the choice between them has launched some of the most contested doctrinal debates of the last 50 years. The Greek doesn't settle the application question, but it does show that most modern doctrine has been built on only one of the two valid readings.